August 1945. The Second World War has ended. Nazi Germany lies in ruins. Imperial Japan has surrendered. And for the first time in history, one nation stands above all others. The United States controls half of the world's economy, commands the largest navy and air force ever assembled, and possesses a weapon unlike anything else on Earth, the atomic bomb. But imagine, if you will, if America's leaders decided not just to win the war, but to conquer the world. In 1945, the United States had over 12 million men in uniform. Its navy fielded over 6,700 ships, including 28 aircraft carriers, while the rest of the world combined had fewer than 10. The U.S. Air Force, still part of the Army at the time, controlled more than 80,000 combat aircraft, and behind it all, American industry was producing 96,000 planes a year, 57,000 tanks, and over 8 million tons of shipping. Economically and militarily, no nation had ever wielded such power. Had Washington chosen conquest, the first steps would have been easy. Western Europe was starving, its armies shattered. Britain's war debt to the U.S. was so high it wouldn't finish paying it until 2006. France fielded only a fraction of its pre-war forces. By contrast, American divisions armed with modern Shermans, Pershings, and endless supplies were still at full strength. In Japan, more than 350,000 U.S. soldiers already occupied the islands. Turning allies into subjects would have been swift. But standing in the way was the Soviet Union. The Red Army was vast, over 11 million men under arms in 1945, with more than 40,000 tanks and 15,000 aircraft. They occupied Berlin, Warsaw, Budapest, and most of Eastern Europe. The Soviet Navy was weak, but their ground forces dwarfed anything the American or British could field on land. Conquering Eurasia meant marching through those armies. The Americans had the ultimate trump card, the atomic bomb, but in 1945 the arsenal was tiny. After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the U.S. had just 2 bombs. Production ramped up slowly, only 9 bombs being available by the end of 1946. Even if Washington launched nuclear strikes on Moscow, Leningrad, and Kiev, the Soviets had too many soldiers spread across too much land. A few bombs couldn't stop millions of Red Army troops already in Germany and Poland. In this alternate 1946, war erupts again. Soviet forces, millions strong, push westward into Europe. The Americans, with about 3 million troops in European theater, dig in with British and Canadian forces at their side. The skies roar with B-29 bombers and P-51 fighters, but on the ground, the Soviets have advantage in manpower and armor. The conflict quickly escalates into a brutal, continent-wide struggle, World War III beginning only a few months after World War II. Even if America somehow breaks the Soviets, holding the rest of the planet would be impossible. China alone fields millions of soldiers under Mao's communist and Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists. Across Asia, colonial empires were collapsing. India, Indochina, Indonesia, each breeding massive independence movements. In total, there were over 100 million men under arms worldwide in 1945. America may have had the most powerful arsenal, but not the numbers to occupy every nation. Guerrilla wars would erupt from the Middle East to Latin America, draining U.S. forces and resources. By the early 1950s, the American empire looks less like Rome and more like a giant with feet of clay. The economy, strained by endless mobilization, falters. Casualties climb into the millions. At home, ordinary Americans who fought Hitler in Japan ask why their sons are dying in India, Africa, or Siberia. The United States may have control over vast territories, on paper that is, but rebellions, insurgencies, and economic exhaustion make the empire unsustainable. In reality, America's leaders chose a different path. Instead of direct conquest, they built influence. The Marshall Plan poured billions into rebuilding Europe. NATO secured the West against Soviet aggression. Bases, alliances, and the global dollar system gave the U.S. unparalleled reach, without needing to occupy every square mile on Earth. So could the United States have tried to conquer the world after World War II? Yes. The numbers gave them unmatched power, but the real question is, could they have succeeded? And the answer is almost certainly not. The Soviets, the sheer size of the globe, and the will of people everywhere would have made it impossible. Sometimes the most powerful empire is the one that does not march. What do you think? Would America's nuclear monopoly have been enough to rule the world, or would the Red Army and the nationalist movements have crushed the dream? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more alternate history.